Thank you all for being here today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Justin Turner. I'm the news treasurer of so happy to have you all here. For those, a little bit about me, new treasurer. Also, March is like a big birthday month. After this, I'm going to use my cousin's birthday event. Later this month, my brother's birthday, so I wanted to take a moment as a community to wish everyone here who has a birthday. So if anybody has a birthday in January, please raise your hand. February birthdays, March birthdays. Happy birthday to all of you. We give everybody a round of applause for everything. Now that we are coming together today, I want to remind us of the essence of Sunday Assembly. We are a non-secular congregation built on the values to live better, help often, and wonder. We gather to support each other, grow together, and make the world around us a little brighter. So thank you all for being part of this community, and thank you for going through the happy birthday celebration. Let's go. So, with that, I'm going to go to our gathering. So for today, here's our program. As you can see, I'm going to go through gathering, stage, address, reading, and moment of wonder. And then we're going to have our speaker, Mary Bochinski, come up, and she's going to give us her presentation on reproductive health. And she's going to do a Q&A after. Then when we come back, we're going to do some announcements about upcoming events and different things. And we'll quick watch. Like our gathering statement, we gather this morning to connect with each other, with nature, and with our human values. Being here together builds in us our sense of community and friendship. So let us listen to each other's stories with open hearts, open minds, open hearts, and our ancestors have done for us. Let us remember that we have one beautiful land. I also wanted to take this moment to address the changing political and economic times that we're starting to see. In these uncertain times, when the future may seem uncertain, path ahead is unclear, it is crucial to return to our roots and reflect on the foundation that supports us. Just precisely what Sunday Assembly is all about. It's to be that foundation of unwavering support for this community that we are putting together. The course of the Assembly is grounded in our mission statement, which is to foster a sense of belonging in people through communities, encourage them to become their best selves, work with them to better their communities now and for future generations, and enable them to bring humanity and science to those around them, all in order to help them build a meaningful life. Together we hold this foundation close and continue to strengthen it, not just for ourselves, but for all that we serve and will serve. So now I'm going to go on and do our reading for today. I did select Whitney Carr's poetry. Her book, Milk and Honey, as it resonates really deeply with me. Particularly with her, I was able to connect her with her poetry in a better way that I have with traditional poems that I wrote with philosophical or historical content, because hers are more rooted in everyday struggle discussion. It shows her story at the moment and going through some hard times. And it really opened me up to a way of viewing femininity as a way of strength and healing and just being grateful to yourselves. So I selected a portion of poems that I think speak of what we're talking about here today, both as a community, a sense of individual, and then going into Mary's topic as well. So, this is Whitney Carr's number. I am one, soft enough to offer life, tough enough to drum it away. My heart aches for sisters, more than anything. It is her women helping women, like flowers aim for spring. Of course I want to be successful, but I don't crave success for me. I need to be successful to gain enough milk and honey to help those around me succeed. Other women's bodies are not our background. Apparently, it is ungraceful of me to mention my period because the actual biology of my body is too good. It is okay to sell what's between a woman's legs more than it is okay to mention its inner workings. The recreational use of this body is seen as beautiful, while its nature is seen as ugly. Removing all the hair off your body is okay, if that's what you want to do. Just as much as keeping all the hair on your body is okay, if that's what you want to do. You belong only to yourself. So, eating card. And now, I'm going to regret for giving this microphone with our religious wonder. Because this is March Women's History Month, and I wanted to take this moment to highlight the changes that are happening in women's sports. Because we're actually at a pinnacle of transition period. Women have always fought for equality and different rights, and we've not met in a lot of places, and we're starting to see that happen in sports as well. So sports is an important aspect of our life, just because it is so measurable. It's so easy to see the variables. There is a best. There is a person who's rated best, who's done it, more or better in whatever way it is. Sports push the limits of what is possible. Competition drives people to achieve what once seemed unattainable, such as the sub-4 minute mile. Before Roger Bannister did this, it was thought to be humanly impossible. Like, you could not push your body to do this feat. And then he did it. And then as soon as he did it, the next year, 3 more people were able to do this. Because it was no longer seen as something that was impossible. It just made you kind of work harder together. Maybe train differently, do something more. You could push past that boundary, which is seen a lot in human psychology. Is as soon as you know it's possible, you will find a way to get there. And athletes in general strive to improve. Training and aiming higher, they learn that even with their best efforts, they may still lose to someone better. And these experiences build that resilience and determination, which are skills that are valuable in all aspects of life. And then furthering on that, team sports also teach crucial life skills like teamwork, discipline, and leadership, all while promoting a healthy lifestyle. And going into the Nutrition Month, representation is important. Most of your top athletes that you see in media are men. So having young girls see professional women athletes is so important. So they learn these life skills as well and push forward in their own sports, even as adolescents. Which shows an absolute icon that is Serena Williams. And not just because she's one of the all-time best tennis players, one of the best all-time athletes there is, but because she's always been so authentic and truly herself. The first picture here is when she first won the U.S. Open Grand Slam in 2001. She celebrated by doing a curve walk. This was met with criticism, right, all the way around. It was seen as too much, shouldn't have done it, it was disrespectful. And because she just wanted to believe herself and proved who she was, which is why when she did it again, the biggest stage that we have, the Super Bowl halftime show, that has the biggest viewership that there is, and she's highlighted and celebrated for it. She's always been so authentic and so proud of exactly who she is. So it's a really great moment in time to celebrate that. And on top of that, executive treasurer, I focus a lot on the financial parts of this as well. Serena is one of the highest earning athletes of all time. This is possible. Imagine. She earned $95 million in prize money throughout her career, and then she earned 3 times that, $200 million, in invoke, because she has that name recognition that brands recognize and see. So in total, she's worth $340 million, and her success highlights the growing financial opportunities in women's sports, paving the way for life. So to show you why this moment in time is so important to women's sports, I want to go back and show you like how possible. So early women's sports were focused highly on individualized non-contact sports, so like all tennis. This would support one woman being great and fast. You know, it's so much easier to get that person to get that communication all as one person. And so like this foundation of the non-contact sports, women have always been competitive just as well, have always participated. Be like paid has always been so selected to just an individual person. So if you need a sport that only has one person in it to be the best. Which is how we then get to World War II, where we shipped all the men off, you know, but we were still craving that team sports in the media. So we ended up with the women's baseball team, you know, which is the true story of like a league of our own, that movie. And the All-American Girl Professional Baseball League. This was like one of the first times that women came together in a team. So it wasn't just one person, it was a league, it was a team sport. You got more, you know, there was one person that was part of this team, but that the league in general. And while it didn't dissolve eventually, and sacrifice all that, it wasn't important at the time that it is successful and people do want to see this. Which is why later, we started the fight for Title IX, which is fully a non-discrimination clause in education. And this is specifically to college sports because it's so easy to see, it's easy to measure how many men get scholarships for sports versus that's an easy number, 10 to 0. So you have to offer the same amount. Now you have to have the same space available for training. Now if men get child practicing social learning, so this brought about a way for women to get into higher ed. And this was a huge moment because if you couldn't afford college, you can get there on scholarship. You know, and it became one of the first times where there was a financial component to being good at your sport. You know, there was a success factor that you looked forward way beyond being in display. Yeah. You know, which is a lot of reasons why little kids and they want to be, I want to be in the NFL because ultimately they want to be rich, right? Like they want to have that like financial security without all the money. So sport became a way for, you know, with Title IX for women to that use. But it's been for many years up until about the recent time, created less whereas college was the highest form that you and highest financial success that a woman can achieve was a college education. Because beyond that, a lot of leagues didn't pay enough to have a career or to have a living. So that's where we've been at for the last little bit until we got to the time of social media. In like this era of like self-promotion, where we can go back to where the individual person in a team sport, you know, that can be highlighted in college, such as like Kate Woodward and Angel Reeves, and with Olivia Meyer. She earned her Olympic gold medal in rugby onto on Dancing with the Stars, and now she's picked up for the women's rugby league in April. And because of how successful and how loved she was on Dancing with the Stars, the U.S. is now talking about opening up a rugby league as well. Just so yes, with that, you still need like a star quality as one person to be one team sport to make enough money to be in the same realm as male athletes. So with that, I typically do comparison of who she gets that star. To highlight this, so her earnings for rookie year, when she drafted the NBA, was $11.1 million, which is amazing and huge. But through this breakdown, you'll see that her salary plus performance bonus was only $150,000. So that's 1%. The other $11 million came from endorsement deals because she has that name recognition. People know her. She's able to help new and people respond to that as well. And this is really important because that's a comparison of the NFL's versus relevant. So the football team, like they draft everybody, the last person to be drafted for their rookie year is Mr. Relevant. So they are the lowest member being pulled into the NFL. That person's salary, which one counts? I don't think it's that.
It is, I can hear it.
It is okay. Speak right up to it. Try now.
Hello.
Is that better? Is that better? It is better.
Is it better?
Is it better?
I can talk louder.
Yeah, talk louder.
Okay, I can talk louder. Okay. Alright, so Mr. Irrelevant's salary is $3.9 million starting. Their bonus structure on performance is 76,000. So Mr. Irrelevant's bonus is the same as Caitlin Clark's full salary. So to be able to get up to that, he needs to get endorsements with everything. Which is why the PWHL is so cool, because this is the professional women's hockey league. It started 18 months ago, so just last year was its inaugural season, and it doesn't have a breakout star. It doesn't have one person that is the face of this league. But the league as a whole is getting that same kind of recognition and support that Caitlin Clark, injuries, Luna have done. And with that, they are using that to grow rapidly. In the last year was the season, and through that they didn't have like names. We were just cheering for like Toronto. They didn't have logos. They didn't have any kind of branding for them. They were just playing, and they sold out most of their games. Everybody attended. There's about 5,000 people who attended every game on average. And this season, they've had the first time they've had a full season. So they were in 2024 and 2025. The season's not even over yet, and they're already reporting that a 66% increase in attendance, in sales. They have merchandising, they have names, logos. Everybody's for it. And most of the reason for their increase in attendance is because they've been able to sell their favorite stadiums. So they moved from like junior, and college level, drinks up into like major stadiums. So with that growing support, they have also shown that in the takeover tour. So this is where two teams visit a neutral site and play a game. And most of these have also sold out, including the one that's in Detroit next weekend, which I get to go to. I'm very excited about this. And this has shown that there is room for even more expansion. So there is the rumors that they're going to expand to 2 more teams next year, with Detroit being a shortlist for it. So I hope we get it. And why selling out the LCA is important because they have even like the upper bowl ready for this, and having this kind of like rapid expansion has never really been seen in any of the leagues that have previously happened. They tried hockey leagues before. This is the first time that there's been like a huge welcoming to it, And then with that success, they've also been they've been taking care of their players as well. So they're being paid enough that they don't have to have part-time work anymore. There is a minimum salary that has to be given to all players, as well as an average salary that has to be met amongst everybody, which is how they're doing with a salary cap. So all teams have to have, you know, I think it was like 70,000 has to be like the average that they pay across the team. So it's not men's salaries where they're starting at, you know, $3 million, but it is enough that they don't have to pick up a secondary part-time work, like is seen in a lot of other women's sports. You know, I think the other main one that I know is like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Some of the like best athletes ever are paid like $10K like for the entire season. You know, and are required to be there just as much as the football team. So yeah, that's why it's really important that this is something we support and grow, and it is getting that like recognition both nationally, internationally, and being picked up by like main media streams, and that it is moving forward and that it is building steam. And the women are being paid. So with that, to support another women's team here in Detroit is the roller derby. We are taking a field trip at Sunday Assembly next Saturday. So if you'd like to attend, this is a great thing. It's another way to support women in sports. I welcome Mary. She is a associate professor in nurse with anesthesia. She is here.
Let me know if you can't hear me if I need to speak up anymore. I'm Mary Bochinski. I am a nurse anesthetist. I've been working for about 4.5 years, and I also just started a job. I'm an associate professor in nursing anesthesia at University of Detroit Mercy. So a little bit about my experience. I am trained in pediatrics, and that's where I currently work, but I also have a couple of years of providing anesthesia at a large health system, mostly in women's care. I worked a lot in OB and a lot in women's centers. That is my main focus with this presentation. We do talk about other things, but I will tell you, mostly my forte and my passion is advocating for women's healthcare and reproductive health and rights for women. So this presentation, there's a lot of information. It's hard to kind of boil that down into a 25-minute talk. And so one of the things I've done is the sheets on your table. If you're interested in any specific topics, please, we have more in the back too if you run out. Please take that, explore the topics that apply to you, that you're interested in. It's a way to kind of expand this talk a little bit past the conference at the time that we have. A little overview, I have no conflicts of interest to disclose. A content warning for some themes, some themes related, we do discuss pregnancy loss, abortion, and infant loss. Again, the handouts I just told you about, in this presentation, I try my best to use the anatomically correct terms, as we all should. And to use those terms correctly, there is a resource on the guide about related to abortion-specific terms, how to use the correct terminology for things related to abortion and miscarriage. And then for the purposes of this presentation, just to simplify, unless I specify otherwise, when I talk about women, I'm talking about individuals who are assigned female at birth, and then those individuals assigned male at birth, just to kind of simplify things. We are going to go do a quick poll, so pull out your phones. There will be a QR code for you to scan up here. So you can get it for your public settings or something that kind of get set up. You don't have to sign up, go along with your name, you don't have to put that in. ahead and scan that if you can, or you can type in this link into your browser, fullev.com. And I just want to know, pick a phrase or a word, short phrase or a word. What comes to mind when you think of reproductive health? Go ahead and put it. Is it working?
It's too small.
It's too small. Okay, deactivate for a second. You can click on the QR code here. And it'll expand it. See if that helps. Okay, go ahead and activate. You can type in your response. Just a word or a short phrase. What comes to mind when you think about reproductive health? We got some responses. Sorry we guys didn't get yours in. Shout some out too if you want. But yeah, I see pregnancy, gender, necessary, definitely, abortion, affirming. We'll get into all of these. Actually, that's a pretty good summary of my talk, so thank you guys. You can go back. So yeah, reproductive health encompasses a lot of things. This is a non-exhaustive list, but look at how long it says. Everything from hormone management for certain conditions, childbearing, whether you want children or you don't want children, both extremes. Uterine health, breast health, and then other like the other topic, mental health, a big thing a couple years ago was female genital mutilation in different areas of the world. Intimate partner violence, HIV and STI testing and treatment. All of these fall under women's reproductive health, even though certain ones have been more politicized than others. And then men's reproductive health, same thing. Men don't have quite as much going on, still a lot. Men's systems are a little bit similar, but still, you see some of these same things. Breast care still, men can get breast cancer. Intimate partner violence, HIV and STI testing and treatment. Gender affirming care in both hormone management and cosmetically. We'll talk about all of these a little bit later on. So it's a huge topic. A little bit about why this is important. When talking about women's health, a lot of what I look at is trends in maternal mortality. So this is related to things like pregnancy, childbearing, abortion. And this has been a huge topic worldwide. Actually, there's you guys have access to this information as well in your packets, but there was a study released in 2020 looking at trends in maternal mortality. You can switch to that interactive map to help you more. And the US does okay. Let's see. This is the updated information from 2020. So you can see it's kind of color-coded. We do a lot better than the continent of Africa. That'll stick out to you right away. But to some countries in Africa. But our MMR, people back in the United States, our maternal mortality rate is 21. And lifetime risk is about you have a risk of developing a complication. That refers to the risk of developing a complication or some sort of life-threatening scenario during your pregnancy. The risk is about 1 in 2,700 in the United States. Go to Canada. Their MMR, maternal mortality ratio, is 11. Their lifetime risk is 1 in 6,500. And then if you go to Spain or Australia, Spain is good. Their MMR is 3. Lifetime risk 1 in 27,000. Australia, lifetime risk 1 in 19,000 women will develop a complication. So much better than the United States. So we look good. Our color is great up there. It's comparable to some of the other ones, but we have a long way to go as a country, as a developed nation, in how we treat women and especially how we treat women in healthcare. Men's health disparities. There's some information up there. Average life expectancy lower in women by about 5 years. A lot of this is related to other health conditions, not reproductive health, but any place where men can get education about their health can help improve this disparity, especially in Black, Indigenous, people of color, and in rural areas. This is where a lot of disparities exist. And then transfers in the gender nonconforming healthcare. It's hard to find statistics for trans healthcare. There is a study from the NIH in your packet that it was done in 2023 and it estimates that only about 0.6% of the US population it identifies as trans. And that was in 2023. Put it on up or down a little bit, but still not a huge percentage of the population. It's hard to study when, it's hard to get very good, robust medical studies done when such a small portion of the population fits into that criteria. So it's hard to find statistics. Also, I did a lot of searching and, you use Google or other types of resources, and then you find that the statistics that you're looking at are tied to an opinion article, one way or another. So, is this really reliable information? So I didn't include a lot of statistics in this just because you don't want it to be biased. You don't want, a lot of that is on both sides. It's subject to bias. As far as trans healthcare, as far as trans healthcare is concerned, it's generally best for trans people to get health information directly from a medical institution that participates in gender-affirming care. They're more used to seeing these types of patients. And in this area, if you're talking about Metro Detroit and Southeast Michigan, that would be University of Michigan. They do provide gender-affirming care. Abortion versus miscarriage. So let's look at some.
Any other option is they're not treated as people that are not allowed. That's now the new changes. So I don't know how it's going to be. It's a lot.
Absolutely will. There's a lot of changes going on right now. One of the things I recommend with this packet that I gave you too is if you go and look at that NIH research, go and read it and print it out today. Because it might not be here tomorrow, like you said. Let's look at abortion versus miscarriage. This is a huge issue in reproductive healthcare right now, a huge political issue. Defining abortion versus miscarriage. If you ask someone in the community that's not in medicine, they're going to say something like, abortion is intentional. Someone seeks out to get an abortion. Miscarriage can happen at random. It can happen to anybody. In the medical community, you can see the medical definition of female medicine there. Abortion is generally used to describe any pregnancy loss. So when we talk about abortion in medicine, it could be miscarriages, it could be intentional abortions, but when we talk about it in the context of a patient that we're trying to treat, abortion is the term that we use. This leads to a lot of confusion, it leads to politicization of care that women can receive, and it can lead to problems. Let's look at our first myth. Abortion restrictions save lives. Okay, let's debunk that. This comes from the idea that abortions are dangerous and that these restrictions would save lives that otherwise people could be harmed by abortion. An abortion is a highly regulated medical procedure. It's done by people who are trained to do it. There are standards just like there are with any other medical treatment. It is, it's about the same risk of undergoing any type of procedure. And before the procedure, you usually get described, they describe the risks and benefits of the procedure, and you're allowed to proceed as you want. The idea that abortion itself is dangerous is untrue, and it's unproven in medical literature. It is, however, well supported in literature that abortion protections reduce maternal mortality, particularly for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We saw this after Roe v. Wade was introduced back in the 1970s. We saw a reduction in maternal mortality for this group of people like 30 to 40%. Now it's going to take a couple years for this data to kind of catch up now that there are abortion restrictions in certain areas of the country. And you have to question, is this data really accurate? Is it being reported correctly? But we can assume that we're going to see maternal mortality rebound after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Abortion restrictions can also reduce access to reproductive care providers. Abortion providers and OBGYNs who don't want to practice in areas that have restrictive policies. This can lead to care deserts and leads to poor health of the women in those areas. And then women's health becomes secondary to any pregnancy or potential pregnancy. So having a miscarriage now becomes dangerous if you don't fit certain criteria. There's another good article in your packet from ProPublica about this, about people coming in for miscarriage care and having care denied because the fetus makes a heartbeat, something like that. That ProPublica article goes into that. I do have some other articles if you want I can share with you after. They're mostly opinion articles though, so I tried to avoid those in this. Oh yeah. That was the best resource I was able to find that was mostly opinion free. Yeah. Okay, let's do on another myth. This idea of post-birth abortions. Just going to come and say, a post-birth abortion is not recognized by any medical literature, nor is it currently recommended or practiced. I'm not sure where this term originally came from. I have theories. I don't want to speculate, but it's really like people talking about it in bills or executive orders that want to ban post-birth abortions. Really kind of seems like they're seeking to sensationalize it and therefore turn it into a way to restrict people having like late-term abortions or abortions that happen after the age of viability. So be careful when you hear people talking about this term. And then another thing to bring up with this is, you know, if you have a couple that has a baby that they know that they have some life-threatening congenital anomaly or condition and they want to choose hospice care or comfort care for the baby, this could, you know, if post-birth abortions are banned and it's mandated that you have to pursue medical intervention for every baby born, this could take away the autonomy of those parents that want to choose comfort care for their newborn, just like you would choose comfort care for someone dying of cancer or any other condition. Ectopic reimplantation. Okay, we'll define ectopic pregnancy really quick. Ectopic pregnancy is when a fertilized egg implants anywhere in the body outside the uterus. Most often this happens in a fallopian tube, so the tube connected to the uterus. But the egg can also migrate anywhere in the abdomen and attach where it receives good blood flow. Ectopic pregnancies are life-threatening, especially if they implant in the fallopian tube. They can cause irreparable damage to a woman's reproductive system as that pregnancy grows. If the fallopian tube ruptures, it can lead to blood loss. It can lead to very quick blood loss. It can lead to the woman having to get certain organs removed, and it always leads to loss of the pregnancy. Reimplantation is not mentioned or supported in any medical literature. It'd be great if we could do this, because a lot of times these pregnancies are chosen and they're wanted, and now they're lost. It'd be great if we could take that out and reimplant it in the uterus, but it's just not something we can do at this point. And talking about ectopic reimplantation seeks to deny medical care for women with ectopic pregnancy, which can be dangerous and life-threatening to the woman. Crisis pregnancy centers. Okay, these are everywhere. There's like 3 by my house. So I'd like to bring this up. Don't go to these. Usually they're funded by religious organizations. I recommend well as clinics that can provide essential pregnancy care. But a lot of times the people working there are not healthcare providers. They don't have degrees in healthcare and they can't, they're not authorized to give health information. They oftentimes also try to misrepresent the options for patients with the intent of convincing them to continue with pregnancy, which can be dangerous for an individual and violates their autonomy to choose and their right to have informed consent about their options. Are we missing this one? That's okay. No? Okay. That's all right. Okay, I have a slide in here. We're going to talk about, that's okay. I don't think it's in there. That's all right. Gender affirming care is trans care. I have a slide with Elon Musk and Lori with their pre and post gender affirming care that they received. Gender affirming care is more than just care for trans people. It can be hair implants, it can be that jawline surgery that they say Elon Musk had, maybe. It can be cosmetic surgery, it can be breast implants, liposuction, anything. It is your choice to choose if you want to have any form of cosmetic surgery that affirms your gender and makes you feel good about yourself. You have the autonomy to choose. It's not just trans care, but it's also very important for trans people as well. So fact, men, women, and trans people, so cis men and women and trans people all benefit from gender affirming care in different forms. Gender affirming care has been shown, it's evident in the research that denying gender affirming care to trans people can cause rates of depression and suicide to skyrocket within this group. It can decrease overall well-being and sometimes can be seen as traumatic to the individual. So similar to things like a car accident or intimate partner violence. Denying them access to care and access to the right to choose their care can have some of the same effects that these traumatic experiences can have. Not only that, sorry, I was just taking water. Not only that, but we use gender affirming care, even the same types of care that trans people get on cis people all the time. It's actually helped inform a lot of our practices. Things like penile reconstruction or bottom surgery for trans people have informed and taught us some new techniques that we can use for cisgender people that may have had their reproductive organs affected by injury, by cancer, things like that. We all are negatively affected by sweeping bans on gender affirming care. Same thing with the youth population. A lot of people like to say, hey, they don't need gender affirming care, they don't need trans health care until they're old enough to decide. But restricting gender affirming care on the youth, for trans youth, can have the same effects that it can have on adults that identify as transgender. Not only that, but it can have direct consequences and indirect consequences on cisgender youth. There are hormones and blockers that are used for a variety of reasons in pediatrics, such as treating congenital hormone imbalances, treating precocious puberty, or when puberty starts to develop earlier in life, or to slow the progression of cancer. So sweeping bans on these have the potential to affect those individuals as well. And we're going to look at just a few policies briefly. I know we're running out of time. But consider when you're thinking about healthcare policies, does this policy follow our best scientific understanding? Is it consider diverse viewpoints of people? Does it allow for provision if problems are found later on? So all of those when you're thinking about some different policies. There's another slide missing here, if that's okay. That's okay. I was going to talk about the recent executive order about trying to defend men and women I think it was released in late January. It was one of the first ones he signed, where it refers to a woman is someone who, at conception, produces the large reproductive cell.
Okay.
A man is someone who, at conception, produces a small reproductive cell. This policy is not based in science whatsoever. And anyone who's had high school biology will tell you that. No one produces reproductive cells at conception, first of all. Why say large and small reproductive cells, and you could say egg and sperm? There's a lot of problems with that policy. And it's why it's so important when you're looking at these to really look at them through the lens of, does this make sense? Did someone write this with an agenda in mind? Which they absolutely did. And just consider those perspectives when you're thinking about, okay, is this a good policy or not? Another example of policy, transgender, policies related to transgender rights both in healthcare and in everyday life. We just talked about how gender-affirming care for trans people affects both cisgender people and affects trans people, obviously. But restricting it harms both of us. So think about that when you're thinking about policies. Is this policy gonna, it's gonna hurt the people that I don't like, but is it also gonna hurt me? And that sucks that you have to phrase it that way, because we just shouldn't be passing policies that negatively affect anybody. But think about the eventual consequences of the policy. I wanted to talk about this one briefly in the context of, this isn't related to women's healthcare specifically or gender healthcare, but in the context of access to abortion pills and pills that can induce a miscarriage, a lot of these are used in a lot of applications, like we've talked about in trans health. A lot of applications across the healthcare system. And people will say, oh, well, we're going to restrict it for people who don't need it, or people who are going to use it for abortion, but you'll still be able to access these when you need them for, say, pregnancy induction or to treat a post-childbirth bleed or something like that. When you need the medication, you'll still have access to it. Well, I think this was the statement was released in 2011 when there was a lot of controversy about lethal injection, and that was being discussed a lot politically. We were using, in this country, sodium thiopental, or pentothal, as one of the drugs that we give for lethal injection for those who are on death row. And so the manufacturer at the time, based in Italy, stopped making the drug. So no one could use it for lethal injection. Well, the problem was we also used it very widely in anesthesia at the time. So they stopped making the drug, we stopped getting it, and it affected everyone's anesthetics that year. There were shortages, we had to find replacements, people were trying to figure out what's an appropriate drug to use as a replacement. We've since replaced it with propofol, but at the time, propofol was expensive because we just weren't making enough of it, or as much of it as we do now. And so it led to shortages, increases in costs, and also a whole group of medical professionals that had to now learn to do something completely different than they were used to. So this is a great example of how policy can affect access to medications and what I kind of foresee happening with these restrictions on abortion drugs and postpartum care. That's okay. So, I wanted to talk briefly about what can you do in the face of all of this. In today's world, we just talked about a lot of policies and things that are scary. One of the things that you can do is advocate for yourself, but you can't do it every day. So, the parallel require, I've had trouble sourcing this. I can't figure out exactly where it comes from, but I've seen it from a lot of advocacy groups and community groups. A choir can sing a beautiful note impossibly long, the singer can individually drop out and breathe, as necessary, and the note goes on. Same is true for healthcare advocacy and when we're fighting these policies. You can't give 100% all the time. You Give yourself space, step back, and breathe, and then read the song. There we go. What else can you do? Know yourself. Consider your fertility tracking app if you're still using one, and consider not using them at this point. Consider sustainable birth control options for both men and women. There's resources for this on the last page of your packet. My favorite is Planned Parenthood. Their website is really easy to navigate. So, stock up on supplies. Whatever you need to exist, try to get more of it and save it. Advocate for yourself and be difficult. Know your rights or talk to a healthcare advocate. On the first page, there's a resource called Take Back Trust. That is my favorite. It has a lot of health advocacy information and how to talk to your doctor, what questions to ask, things like that. Choose appropriate healthcare settings. I know that got a little small, but choose appropriate healthcare in this area especially. I recommend going to secular hospitals, non-religious ones. I recommend Henry Ford Health, U of M, DMC. Be careful with Corwell because the CEO is based in Grand Rapids, and she did some interesting things. I can tell you guys the story later if you want in person. She did some interesting things when Roe v. Wade was overturned, trying to restrict access to women's health care. I worked at a Corwell hospital at that time, and there were emails sent out like, hey, we're no longer gonna give, care that's abortion related. And it's like, okay, what does that mean? Anyway, be careful at Corwell. I would say if you go to Corwell, go to Royal Lower. So yeah, know your healthcare setting, know your providers. We'll go next. Some of the things that I'm doing, I have plans for long-term birth control. Hopefully, I'm there in time before it's restricted. I have stocked up on supplies and information. Pregnancy tests, Plan B, both doses. You know that if you're above a certain weight, you can only take a different dose of Plan B. Feminine care supplies, other things like that. I've stocked up on everything in case it becomes unavailable. Knowing myself and my fertility cycle, and this is how I keep track of it. It's fun. It's got coloring. You can color in things. I have to do math, but it's not that bad. In this way, if no one can get access to my information, and if they try, I can shred it or burn it. And then involve myself in health advocacy. I've joined a couple groups, both local and nationwide, that send me email updates on what's going on politically, what can I do, who do I contact, which senator, is in my area that represents me, and answer a call to action. Send an email, call the office. I don't do a lot of calling, but emails are great. But yeah, involve myself when I can in health advocacy. Go ahead. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should be independent of laws and institutions. Keep struggling. That's okay. Another thing some other things that you can do. Go ahead to the next slide. Form community with your allies in your area and nationwide. Vote with your wallet. Don't support things that support policies that you don't support. That sounded really weird, but you guys get it. Instead, support organizations that align with your beliefs. Planned Parenthood and ACLU and the Satanic Temple are three of the ones that I support, because those most closely align with my belief systems. Skip this one. He's got a little out of order. That's okay. And then finally, this can be difficult, especially in today's political climate, but try not to celebrate the losses of those who have wronged you. People who are also getting their healthcare rights taken away and finding out the consequences of their actions, of their voting, things like that. Harness their misfortune and channel it into a voice of cooperation. Encourage within them a change of heart, and hopefully they'll commit to advocacy. If we can change just like 30 million people's minds, hopefully we can move forward and move back into a better situation. I know that was long.
So I have a question. So first of all, I think that the Elon Musk picture was removed by the Doge group. I think removed it from the presentation. The whole thing that we heard about $8 billion being spent on turning mice transgender, what is that?
Oh my gosh, okay. Thank you. I had already put my slides together when that came out. Like, it's constant. It's always changing and it's exhausting to keep up with. Okay. The Biden administration did not spend $8 million for making mice transgender. The word was transgenic. Yeah. And that refers to like gene splicing. I'm not like a geneticist. This is my understanding of it. Yes, it refers to like gene splicing, and they were doing this in ways to try to do some research on cancer treatments or other types of like chronic health condition treatments. It was not making mice transgender. It was looking into how we can manipulate genes to treat and or prevent those types of conditions like cancers and things like that. Transgenic, yes, not transgender mice. Yes.
So transgenic is like there's genes from another species inside the mouse.
They get that woolly mammoth mouse.
Like human genes inside the mouse.
I think we do this now anyway to create certain drugs like insulin. Comes from animals that have been given genes to create that, so now they produce the same insulin that then we extract and use in medicine. So I think this was already ongoing. Thank you for clarifying. Any other questions? Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. This was right after Roe v. Wade. I was working there, and there were all these emails sent out by the CEO about, oh, well, it was like literally 2 hours after it was announced that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And she's like, well, in accordance with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, in the state of Michigan, now abortion is illegal, so we will no longer be providing any abortion care or any care that could be considered abortion. Well, I don't know about time tubes specifically or other types of birth control options, but it was very vague the way it was phrased. It just said specifically abortion, so people were questioning, okay, what does this apply to? What exactly can and can't we do? It created a lot of confusion, which is going on in other states with abortion restrictions right now. And then basically, like 12 hours later, she completely backed off the statement. Yeah, after I assumed she received a lot of pushback. But then there was always this question of, okay, what if we don't pass the reproductive rights bill that was in the next election cycle? Is she going to enforce not caring for our patients? What will this look like? It was an interesting time. There was speculation that it was faith-based because she is, when Corwell came to be, it was a merger between Spectrum Health and Beaumont Health. And Spectrum, I think, was a religious organization. It was mostly on the west side of the state in some areas that are a little bit more conservative. And that's where the CEO comes from. She is from the west side of the state. So she kind of took over these hospitals on our side of the state that are a little bit more liberal in our policies. And there was a thought that was motivating her decisions. Thank you. Feel free to come talk to me.
Mary is available, she'll be here to answer any more questions. But I wanted to move us on to when the next assembly is. Going to be now the 9th. Things on the other side. But the next assembly will be definitely not. Thank you. Yes, we will do. We have a game night coming up on Friday, and then our field trip to the roller derby. And then we're going to do continuing conversations at Buddy's Pizza. This is the one that's in Farmington. And then the next assembly on the 11th, topic is to be determined as right now. And then we have a new event coming. You know, Sully has graciously offered to host a fiber arts, night. So date and time, place, all to be determined based on whose interest. So Sully, you can raise your hand. He's over here, ready to take suggestions, thoughts about it. So please see Sully during pizza night.
What is it, the Fiber Arts event?
Knitting, crocheting, fun times sitting around together, whatever.
Okay.
Oh, just real quick also, March 14th, our game night is also Pie Day. So don't forget Pie Day, and everyone can get a chance to see the Pie Day pie.
3.14.
Not yet.
April 11th is Friday. All right, go ahead, Ronald. It's got to be the 13th then. Okay. I will.
Second Sunday.
Okay, hang on.
It's 13.
It's the 13th. Sorry about that, everyone. It is the 13th. And then one last announcement. Steve has a book coming out. Here's it from the card. So it is available on March 23rd. They're going to be $15 each. Anybody who buys it through Sunday Assembly as a member, $5 will be donated to Sunday Assembly, which is thanks to Steve. So people have some physical copies available, maybe April, maybe May, or it will be available on Amazon for everybody. And then if you buy it on Amazon though, just send Steve a message so the donations can come to Sunday Assembly as well. Right? And with that, we will break for food. Whose pizza is here?